You're listening to Operation Self Reset with Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest Nutrition. What is going on, you freaking awesome people? Welcome back to Operation Self Reset. My name is Jake Naraki, coming to you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where each and every week we dive into a different topic in the world of personal development so you can obviously be freaking awesome. Now, what does freaking awesome mean? Well, freaking awesome is nothing more than the adage and analogy of understanding that you have more to give than what you're currently giving. How awesome would it be if you could wake up with all the traits, all the qualities that you've been learning and digesting on a regular basis, right? How awesome would that be? Well, the problem is, for some reason, some way, somehow, you have stumbled. You have not believed. You don't feel like you are worthy of achieving those type of results, but you truly can. And that's where being freaking awesome comes into play. So today we have somebody that is pretty freaking awesome that you could say in the world of personal development. His name is Tom Bilyeu. He is the founder of Quest Nutrition, a billion-dollar business that he started out of disgust of what he was currently doing. Amazing story. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we get into the interview, I just want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for sharing and listening to this show. This show has exploded in popularity all because of you guys. And again, I'm trying to reach 200 reviews. And if you feel that this show is worthy of a review, feel free to go to iTunes and type in your comments and help me fulfill my dream, my destiny of 300 reviews. It'd be really cool. So with that being said, let's dive into the awesome interview with Tom Bilyeu. What's up, awesome people? Today we have on Tom Bilyeu from Quest Nutrition, which was the fastest growing company in the U.S. history, according to Inc. magazine. But now he's on a mission to spread his new passion project, Impact Theory. Tom, my man, thank you for coming on the Operation Self Reset podcast. Dude, you're working with fire, man. You're blowing down doors. You're doing some cool stuff. The interviews that you have created through Impact Theory is impressive, and what you're trying to spread and put in change in people is awesome. And so, first off, thank you for that. And second of all, give people a little background on why Impact Theory and kind of what was the story that led to this moment today.
Oh, well, first of all, man, thank you so much for having me on. And you have set a land speed record for being prepared from the moment that we jumped on this call, dude. You've been ready to rock and roll, and that just needs to be said.
Thanks, bud.
Full respect. So in terms of Impact Theory, that's easy. We can get into it. Did you say you wanted me to recap sort of?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I'll be honest. I mean, I would imagine that, you're the original founder of Quest. Quest is an amazing nutritional company. I mean, your bars are out of this world. You guys did something impressive. I guess if you wouldn't mind just kind of doing a quick 101 on Quest, how it was built up and what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Quest is really a company that was born out of misery, if I'm completely honest. So my partners and I had been building a technology company before that for almost a decade, and really were just chasing money. And we found a niche in the market, and we were trying to fill it with a product. It wasn't necessarily something that we were passionate about or, really felt personally invested in. And over time, that really does take a toll. And the easiest way to explain it to people is that the struggle is guaranteed. It is going to be hard no matter what you're doing, but success is not. So if the struggle is guaranteed, success is not. You better do something that you enjoy in and of itself, that in that moment, in the struggle, that you're going to be able to find fulfillment, something that's making you feel alive. And when you do that, then really amazing things can happen, because you're going to have the energy and the fortitude to fight through the hard times, to make the bold, difficult choices. And that ended up being Quest for us. So we knew that we didn't want to keep doing things the way that we'd been doing it. And so we decided, you know what? Whatever that next thing is, it's going to be something that's predicated on value creation. It's going to be something that we're passionate about. It really is going to be that thing that we want to be the best in the world at. And the question that we changed was, rather than what's most profitable, we started asking, what would we do and love every day, even if we were failing? And we hope there's a business there, and we think there is, and we've got enough business savvy, to to do it right if it can be done. But honestly, like we didn't think it was going to grow as fast as it did. We thought we could make it huge, and we thought being in food is so foundational to people that we could really build a big company. But we were doing it specifically because, for three very different reasons, we all had a connection to health and fitness. And so when we launched that, it wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. It was thinking we can really add value to people's lives. And so that was the thing that we put at the center of everything, and was the first company where we had a mission, and the mission was to end metabolic disease. And so it really gave us things to galvanize people around, to galvanize ourselves around, to have the clarity to know what to say yes to, what to say no to, and just became a fundamentally different way for us to approach business. And then the great news is that in all of that, we ended up making more in a single day than our previous technology company made annually. So it was just nuts.
Yeah.
So really, really a wonderful ride. And, during that process, I knew that there were really two things that I was meant to address with my life. And that's the pandemic of the body and the pandemic of the mind. And the pandemic of the body is easy for people to see. I mean, we seem to be moving more and more backwards from a health perspective with nutrition. And so attacking that by making food that people could choose based on taste and it happened to be good for them, that just seemed like a winning formula to us. But as we had that just kind of crazy success that we had, I was in a very fortunate position where I could attack the next thing as well. Now, originally, I was going to do it all within Quest and never had any intention of going outside Quest. And I thought of Quest as a platform company that could grow and expand and become whatever I needed it to be in order for me to pursue my dreams and, for my partners to do the same. And learned a really hard lesson about branding, which is that people turn to you for a certain thing. And the certain thing that people turned to us for was protein bars. So we became the protein bar company, which is great. And it's exactly why we had the kind of insane velocity that we had. But that becomes very difficult when your other deepest passion, which to me is so connected to the body. I mean, literally, the more I research this, the more I realize the mind, which is a function of the brain, is inextricably connected to the body, and I'll say specifically the gut. Yeah. So there's like this feedback loop between the two where they're literally talking to each other. They exist. Even the microbiota is in a conversation with your brain. I mean, it's really fascinating and insanely complicated. And things like anxiety and depression are almost certainly linked to your microbiome and all of that stuff. So like all of that exists in this loop, but getting people to understand that was very, very difficult. And so as I embark on this journey, and one, just by the way, I don't know how much your audience cares about marketing, but from a marketing perspective, the world changed, let's call it 3 or 4 years ago, and personal branding, becoming your own influencer for your own brand rather than just sort of a general, I'm a fitness influencer, like actually being an influencer for your own brand became a thing. So about 3 years ago, I started stepping out front. I could just see that that's really going to be big, but it took an investment and it took me allocating some of my time and energy to that. And so realizing that it's a disconnect for the current customer base of Quest to go on this mind journey with me, I realized that spinning it out into its own company just made a lot more sense. I could brand from scratch. I could really build a broader base with the new company, learning from all the mistakes that I made at Quest of being too narrowly focused from the jump, which served me early and hurt me later. So trying to overcome some of those hurdles with impact theory, but impact theory is a non-traditional, revolutionary new way to build a studio. So when I say studio, I'm talking Disney, right? So think of Disney Studios and all that entails. So we want to build what's the 21st century version of that. I think there's a massive amount of social content that's going to be a huge part of that. There's also going to be a part of traditional content. So making the next Game of Thrones, making the next Walking Dead, or, Daredevil, or whatever, all Star Wars. God, wouldn't that be amazing? Or my personal obsession, The Matrix. Oh, yeah. So, creating all of that content, which for me is about communicating belief system, which is all about the mind. So if you really want to address the pandemic of the mind, of, the freakish, like if you really want to scare yourself, go do research on current global suicide rates. They're insanity. Then getting into anxiety and depression and just general sense of malaise of my life isn't what I want it to be or what I thought it could be, all of that. And I think that the way to really attack that is through not only social commentary, which is where social media really shines, and what I'll call social content. So YouTube influencer style content, like the interviews and things that I do. And then traditional narrative, which, Joseph Campbell's been talking about this since the 60s and 70s. Yeah. So that I'm trying to just bring that all to fruition and really give people something in a popular format, which is why I'm targeting movies and the like. Just like Quest bars have to taste good to be effective. If you really want to give people an empowering mindset, the vehicle through which you do that needs to be entertaining in and of itself.
Wow. First off, you're pretty good at talking, and so I suggest that you should have your own show and a podcast, and you should be in this realm. But luckily for you, you are, because, man, you got some nuggets in there that are dynamite. Now, I got a couple of questions. The first off is this. Obviously, through your transition, and you kind of started off this conversation with just bringing value to people and changing like your business mindset and understand what can we give for the individual. Now, that's very obvious today, right? I mean, anybody that delivers any type of product or service, it's value, value, value. But you guys were kind of in the beginning where value maybe wasn't the most popular at that time. Where did that analogy come from? Why did you feel that you guys had to give so more and have a deeper connection as opposed to building an awesome business, bringing in awesome revenue, and living an amazing life?
It really was that sense of despair that I felt building the technology company, that I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life. On paper, I was a multimillionaire. I had worked my way from copywriter, because originally the guys that ended up being my partners at Quest, they hired me just as a copywriter at the technology company at Awareness Tech. And they said, look, this is a startup, man. You could earn ownership in this company if you just work your ass off. And so I did, and I took them seriously, and I went on, nearly a decade long journey of acquiring skills and becoming more valuable to the company, and really like working my way up and just delivering extraordinary performance and all of that. I mean, just like going crazy to get so good that they couldn't ignore me. And that was incredibly transformative from a mindset perspective. But at the end of all of that, the thing that I spent my day-to-day time on was building a company that I didn't really care about. And if the company had just been growing like hand over fist, then a lot can get swept under the rug in that momentum. But we hit a point where we just couldn't grow it anymore. And so for years, it was this sense of stagnation and just deep frustration. And in all of that, I just really grappled with like, what am I doing here? Like And it was in this time where I began to realize the game that we're all playing as humans is not success. It isn't money. It's brain chemistry. Because if you have $7.4 billion, but you hate your life and want to kill yourself, like what's the point? Like functionally, the money is utterly meaningless.
Right.
So that was just becoming abundantly clear. And so I ended up going into my partners and I quit. And I was like, guys, I can't do this anymore. Here's your equity back. If I don't cross the finish line, I don't think I should get anything for this. But I'm so unhappy that no amount of money is going to keep me here. And worse, no amount of potential money is going to keep me here. And that was the hell that I was living. The struggle's guaranteed, the success isn't. So it was like, I had spent, by the time we sold that company, 8.5 years thinking that we were only 18 months away from selling. So 18 months, and you actually believe it when you're saying it. And that's the worst part. And finally my wife was like, you've literally been saying 18 months for the last 6 years. So at some point it's just ridiculous. And you're being either willfully ignorant to the truth or you're blinded by something. I don't know what it is, but you seem really unhappy. And so that was like a wake-up call. I was deeply and profoundly unhappy and just realized there's got to be a better way to do this. My partners totally agreed. And so we said, the next thing that we're going to do, it's all going to be predicated on value creation, about being feeling alive, coming into work and building something that we care about, that we think is worth fighting for. And so it wasn't like we thought, oh, this is some shrewd business move. It wasn't that we thought, now let's really crank it out and build this beautiful lifestyle. It was, since I don't know if this is going to work and I actually care about people, like, let's just take care of the customer. Let's do really cool shit. Let's go home every day feeling like, man, I went to bat for people. Like, I'm trying to make this great for them. And for me, I was thinking every day about my mom and my sister, and they were morbidly obese and struggled just really, really profoundly. And I love them and want to do cool stuff for them. And look, I'm not stupid. I knew that there were hundreds of millions of people, maybe even 1 billion or more people that struggled with food exactly like they did.
Sure.
And it's a product that people eat. Like, imagine that you sell cars and people eat the car every day, and then they've got to come back and buy another one. That's literally the business we were in. That's why it was just, the revenues were nuts.
Yeah.
Because you're selling something that adds value to people's lives, because it actually gives them a metabolic result. It tastes amazing, and it's something that they come back to every day. So I get a chance to touch them over and over and over with exceptional customer support, with an exceptional product, with a community that's uplifting and wants to celebrate them. And you put that all together and you've got something extraordinary. But it really was coming from a place of, I don't want to be a clever marketer anymore. I know that this is something I'm going to do every day. I spend so many hours trying to build this business. Like, I want the little wins to just feel awesome. And so it ends up being, and this is the power of social media, and this is why, man, like, when I hear people talk about social media and be negative, I'm like, you can look at the negative side and it's undoubtedly there and you will see it, or you can look at the positive side. When I think about, even with what I'm doing now, in fact, more so with what I'm doing now with Impact Theory, people write me every day to say, you've changed my life. That piece of content that you put out, that interview, or like last night I did a live event where people come and I will stand there. I've answered questions, done live Q&A for up to 9 hours. Because my promise is, if you come see me speak, I am going to answer every question, every question. If the venues almost always kick us out, so we end up on a street corner somewhere, and I've got, upwards of 200 people standing around me, and I'm just answering questions. And I stay there until they slowly dwindle, until it's like usually that last 4 or 5 people that it just becomes like storytelling time. And then eventually we say, okay, we're going to tap out here. So, but it's really, really special. That's the time that we live in, where your product can deliver just an insane amount of value, where people are like, I can't believe this is happening. You can connect first socially, then in real life. Like, if you're taking advantage of this stuff, the amount of value that you can deliver to people, and then the echo that you get back of, dude, you changed my life. I've started this business because of you. Or, a Quest, like, I've lost 150 pounds. It's all thanks to you guys. Like, I have more confidence. I'm in a relationship. I mean, it's crazy. And that beautiful thing has all been facilitated by 2 things. One, there is a cultural shift happening, and people are making better demands of companies, which means that you're able to be rewarded, where taking care of your customer and building a product that matters is now the single best marketing vehicle ever. And that did not used to be the case. And then 2, that you have this really easy communication between you and the community that you're building that is social media. It's unreal.
Yeah, man, that's an impressive story, and for you guys, obviously, to build something like that, and most importantly, you helped out your sister and your mom. So after building Quest, did they jump on the Quest train? Did you flood them with product, and did they get themselves out of harm's way with their health?
What's super interesting is, yes, for my sister, and not so much for my mom. Okay, so my sister lost 120 pounds after we launched Quest. Wow. It was unbelievable. It was literally the fantasy. I was like, I cannot believe how well this has worked. And my sister will be the first one to tell you that at the end of the day, what we did was gave her something that she could choose because she wanted it, and not more sacrificing, right? Like, she actually wanted to eat a Quest bar. So it became something that she would eat instead of, say, a bag of M&Ms or whatever. So, and then my mom continued to struggle because she doesn't eat protein bars, not really her thing. So she'd have one like here and there. And so it was like this constant reminder that the entire food industry has to change. And everyone has to be thinking about, how do we make this tasty? Because that's like number one. It's got to be delicious. But then how do we make it metabolically advantageous? And I mean, like, I can go on a whole diatribe about exactly how the industry has to change and all that. But it's beginning. It's going to be a long process. But, it's just, it was a very powerful dichotomy of seeing that our efforts are having a huge impact for some people.
Right.
And then there's still so much work to do for everybody else.
Yeah, I was just reading the Wall Street Journal. McDonald's is changing its apple juice from Minute Maid and now to Honest Tea, or the Honest tea company apple juice, which is half the sugar, all that stuff, and they're putting apple slices and stuff. So you're right. I mean, it's impacting even those companies that are anti-health. It is impressive, and wherever our money goes, industry will follow. And you're right. It's slowly changing, but a lot of work ahead. You talked about The Matrix a lot. Obviously, it connected with you, the movie, the red or blue pill. I guess take us down that journey. Was this something that you always kind of had an intuition about, and it wasn't until the movie was out there where they kind of showed this like other universe that's living behind the scenes that it really like, yes, this is really true. Like you really feel that there is this other thing out there. Take us down that road.
Sure. So sort of. And I think a lot of people will resonate with what I'm about to say. You have a sense I could do something, like I'm capable of something, but I don't know how. A, I don't know what that something is. And then B, I don't know how to get that good. I just have a feeling, man, that I can really do something if I'm given a chance, or if I had a mentor, or like whatever that case is, which is why movies where there is that Yoda-like character really resonate, right? So Morpheus is essentially a stand-in for Yoda. Yoda is a stand-in for any mythical character that gives the hero, that key piece of advice that they need to go on and really smash their journey. So I had that sense that everybody has, like, man, like I just feel like destined for something. I don't know what that something is. I feel totally lost. I'm, bordering on depressed because I have no idea how to actuate my potential. I would literally go home and just lay on the floor. A, because I couldn't afford furniture, and B, because it was like, what am I doing with my life? Like that was my early 20s. Yeah. And seeing that movie, which I saw right after film school, which is one of the biggest failures in my life. And I'm, in the laying on the carpet phase, and I go see the movie. It's a total like surprise. I'd gone to a comic book convention, and right there, I literally walk around the corner at this comic book convention. I have no idea that Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Joe Pantoliano, Joel Silver, the producer, like they're all there. And I'm like, what the hell? And I had seen the trailer for the movie and was kind of stoked to see it, but I was like, is this going to be good or is it going to be terrible, right? And I remember saying that to my friend. This is either going to be the greatest movie ever or a total piece of crap. I have no idea which. And so they're handing out tickets to go see it at Warner Brothers as like a preview screening. So I was like, oh, definitely go by myself. And when the movie starts, and I don't know if you remember the movie well enough, but there's this moment where the police officer is talking to Agent Smith, and he says, I think we can handle one little girl. And Agent Smith goes, no, officer, your men are already dead. And then they cut up to Trinity, and she does like that flying kick. And when she goes into the kick and the camera goes into slow motion, and I have never experienced anything like this in my life, everyone in the theater, including myself, and it took me by surprise as much as anybody else, we all yelled. We're like, oh, like freaking out. And I'm like, what is happening? This is not your normal movie-going experience. And the movie just had me from that moment until the last. And, look, I didn't walk away from it going, oh my God, my life has changed forever. That was an incredible movie. I love that more than I can tell you. And it planted a seed of just being a metaphor, right? Of belief. What Neo has to go through in the movie is to believe. He has to learn to believe in himself. And once he believes in himself, he realizes how many rules and constructs and all that he can transcend simply by believing, right? When he doesn't think he can make the jump, he can't make the jump. And once he believes he can make it, then he can make it. And so it just like sat in the back of my mind, like gaining steam with every day, with every experience that I'm having, and going from a person who doesn't believe in himself to slowly starting to believe in himself. I'm like, holy hell, I'm literally living that allegory. And so then it just like started really gaining momentum in my life as the metaphor for gaining belief in yourself.
Yeah, cool. There's a lot of people, self-confidence, low self-esteem. Man, it's kind of like a disease. A lot of people, are always looking for the answers. I mean, you can go do a Google search, and there's billions of articles because people are always searching for how to increase that. And a main component of that is obviously, like you said, just believing in thyself. And I don't know if you have the answer, but I mean, what for those people that are listening and going, man, you got an incredible story, man. You risen, you're like the phoenix coming out of the ashes, all this stuff, and they're thinking and reflecting on themselves, man. I don't have that potential. I don't have that mindset. I don't have that ability. A, what do you say to that person? And B, do you have any, kind of like a framework for them to build that belief in them, for them to conquer those small challenges and then for it to snowball?
Most definitely. So first and foremost, one word is separating them from what they want, and that is the word yet. So they don't have that mindset yet. They don't have the skill set
Yes.
yet, right?
Yeah.
So if they go out and build that, like when I was 22, I didn't have the skill set. I couldn't have built Quest at that point. I certainly couldn't do what I'm doing at Impact Theory. So it's like you've got to go on the hero's journey. You've got to go through it. You've got to go on your adventure and learn skills and relentlessly acquire those skills to get better, to serve you in your goal and your purpose. And first you have to figure out, like, what is going to be the goal at the end of my adventure, right? You've got to create that. It isn't something that's hiding within you that you uncover. It starts with, what are the areas of interest in your life? Engage with them, find out which ones turn into a real fascination. Then when you identify one that's a fascination, like really gain mastery and say, I'm going to become the best in the world at this. And then as you really start to become truly extraordinary at that thing, in that process, you're going to find out if you love it enough to fight through all the boredom, the pain, the suffering that comes along with truly becoming great. And I'm talking like world-class performance. And that's what it demands. It demands, like, if you're going to be a world-class musician, it demands hours and hours and hours and hours of playing scales by yourself, alone in a room. If you're, playing guitar, playing till your fingers bleed, like that's actually how you do this stuff. And so in that process, you're going to figure out, okay, either I love playing guitar enough and being able to express my emotions through this enough that I'm willing to suffer through this, or you know what, I actually don't. And while I'm interested, I may be even fascinated, I'm not prepared to become the greatest in the world at this. So once you work your ass off to fan the flames, to decide and create that thing that is going to be that passion, that goal, then you can work backwards and figure out all the skills and things that you're going to need to acquire in order to actually monetize and turn it into something and all of that. But first, you really have to do that, and you have to inject that word yet into your life with everything that you look at.
Yeah, that's a huge, powerful word, man. One thing that I've been kind of keeping on the back burner here that I'm just excited to talk about, for me personally, I don't know if you know too much about me. I work full-time in the fire department here in Milwaukee. I see people in their lowest moments. And the unique thing is that a majority of the individuals that call us is for us to solve a problem. A majority of these problems are caused by a feeling or an emotion. And so kind of, going through, creating this podcast and reaching out and talking with great people like yourself, I keep on, thinking about, what is the thing that really is the separator? And for me personally, it's feelings. And so I'm creating this book called Emotional Warfare, basically allowing yourself to get past those feelings for you to excel in life. And the one thing that you talked about was, about kind of gut health, in where, the depression and anxiety and all these kind of big keywords in the world of mental illness kind of lie. I guess my question for you is this: where do you believe that these emotions and feelings come from, and how can we get a better handle on that internal chatter that goes on between our ears?
So I think that it really is a chicken and egg question between the brain and the gut. And so what you experience as an identifiable, vocalizable, if you will, thought, like, for sure that's your brain. Your brain, however, is wildly influenced from a chemical perspective by what's going on in your gut. So 95% of the serotonin levels in your body, which is the feel-good neurochemical, is stored in your gut. Now, it's only like, I don't know, 70% or something like that, maybe even a little bit less of the serotonin is produced in the gut. But for whatever reason, 95% of it is stored in the gut. So if you have what's called dysbiosis, where your microbiome is just in disarray. That can really influence how serotonin is handled, how it's sent, when it's sent to the brain. So, and there's just, it is, the microbiome is insanely complicated. And I am certainly not an expert in this. I may play one on YouTube, but I am not officially an expert on the microbiome. But because of what my wife is going through, my wife has struggled very profoundly with microbiome issues. I just have been wildly unsatisfied with what doctors have brought to bear on the topic.
Okay.
So I'm self-educating so that I can really help solve this problem. And in all of that, I realized that this conversation around anxiety, depression, around even just internal dialogue, like you're saying, you really have to figure out what the role of your microbiome is and what's going on just from the neurochemical building blocks. Are you able to create the neurochemistry that you need to create in order to feel good? And I think once people understand that, like, there are biological mechanisms at work here, and if you don't understand the mechanisms and the behaviors and lifestyle choices that lead to optimizing that, like, you're always going to be in a suboptimal state. So people always ask me, like, how I have as much energy as I have. And the truth is, it's two things. So one, yeah, it's a ton of positive psychology, and I think about thinking a lot and what I allow myself to think, and like, do I allow myself to dwell on negative things? How do I leverage that negative voice? Because, by the way, the negative voice in your head actually has a purpose. And so, but does it become the only voice that you listen to? I try to keep negativity to 20% or less. 80% of the time, I'm just living in positivity, optimism, possibilities, like all of it. And then the other part is, like, I understand ATP and how mitochondria generates ATP and how my lifestyle and my diet radically impact the cellular machinery in my body whose job it is to create this energy. So I work out. I hate working out, but I do it because I know that's how you condition your body to get more efficient at creating ATP. So among many, many other benefits, including cognitive improvements. So it's optimizing your lifestyle, having the discipline to do things that optimize you cognitively, that optimize you for longevity, that make every day more interesting and exciting. You know, my lifestyle is crazy from a time perspective. So first of all, I sleep about 5 to 6 hours a night. I don't set an alarm. That's just how much I sleep. That's just normal for me for whatever reason. And then if I'm awake, I'm working or working out, period. Now, that's Monday through Friday. So my weekends are a little bit different. They still contain a lot of work, but I'm definitely more relaxed on the weekends. But during the week, if I'm awake, I'm working or working out. But I'm not experiencing that in a negative sense. I love what I do. I believe passionately in what I'm trying to bring to the world. And I've just got the energy levels from a cellular perspective to make it through.
Yeah. I'm going to pull a line from Tim Ferriss. I mean, what are your habits and routines? I mean, obviously, you know, getting 6 hours of sleep. I mean, do you do the classic, quote unquote, successful individual of meditating for hours on end and, you know, drawing out and journaling and all that stuff? What is your routine? And I guess what was the biggest impact from before you did X to now?
Yeah. So I hate to be a cliche, but yes, I do meditate. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I avoided it for years and years and years because it sounded super feminine to me, if I'm just really honest. And so I was like, yeah, no thanks. Yeah. And what I realized, because I met a Navy SEAL, a guy named Mark Devine, had him on the podcast, interviewed him, and he was basically like, look, dumbass, like, meditating has a physiological impact on your body. And I thought, you know what, if a badass Navy SEAL is telling me to meditate, it's time to stop making excuses and at least try it, right? Like, if I try it and don't like it, fair enough. Right. But I had never tried it. So I thought, all right, let me give this a shot. So my whole routine goes like this. I prioritize sleep first and foremost. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're just not going to be cognitively optimized. Right. And frankly, like, being tired sucks. I hate it. So I'm not going to do anything from a lifestyle perspective that leaves me in a chronic state of sleep deprivation. So I go to bed at 9 like it's a religion. I do not set an alarm. I wake up when I wake up. That's anywhere. I usually get 5 to 7 hours, so I just tell people 6. Sure. So if you go to bed at 9 and you wake up 6 hours later, that's 3 a.m. Yeah. So I'm in the gym by like 3:15. And I rock out my workout. That's the first thing. I give myself 10 minutes to get out of bed, period, end of story, bright line, like no arguments, no discussion. So wake up, let's say it's at 3, I'm out of bed by 3:10, I'm in the gym by 3:15, and I do my workout, then I go straight to meditating. The reason I meditate right after I work out is that I get to practice going from the sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, which you're stressing your body majorly in a workout. And I want to see how rapidly I can get out of that and get into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. So they exist in a negative feedback loop, meaning you can't be in both at the same time. So you can imagine, like, if you're in the middle of a fight, you can't be hyped up, energetic, and totally chill. So that's where people really have to learn to rapidly transition between the two to control your anxiety, to control your stress through a physiological process of breathing from your diaphragm. And it's ridiculous how well it works, but it works. I use a very simple just breathe meditation technique. It's a 4-part breath cycle: inhale, hold, exhale, hold. So that's all I do. And I remind myself to just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. After that, I do what I call thinkitating, which is where you're taking, because when you meditate, you get into what's called an alpha wave state, which is known as a calm and creative state. And I found that some of my best business thinking was done when I was in that state. So I carve out time post-meditation to keep my breath cycle going, but now let my mind wander. So I'm no longer trying to focus on my breath. I just put that on autopilot, and I start letting my mind wander and crawl across whatever problems I'm facing in the business. And I find about 70% of the time that I get really, really great ideas. Not always, sometimes it's a total bust, but 70% of the time it's really, really impactful. Then I read. Then I read almost exclusively nonfiction. I read one fiction book a year. So I'll read something that's important to me, whatever I'm studying at that time. And then after that, I have a list of important things, which are the most important things I could be doing to move my business forward. And I go through them and I take immediate action. And that usually takes me till about 10 a.m., which is the first time that I take any meetings or anything like that. So on a day where I wake up at 3 a.m., I've been on the go doing the most important things to get my day going for 7 hours before, my first employees are here.
Cool. Yeah, man, that's an interesting look into your life, and obviously that has allowed you to be where you are today. And for the individuals that are looking and always questioning if they should have a regimented schedule, I think Tom kind of knocked it out of the park. And obviously take bits and pieces and implement in your own personal life. We're kind of winding down here in the interview, but I really want to dive into impact theory. Obviously, you're really on a mission. I guess, what is the most impactful conversation you had that to this day just like shocks you, like that was just unbelievable, either unbelievable story or unbelievable content that you use on a daily basis, or just a connection that you had with a person that just blew you away? Like, is there anything on a deep level and a personal level that you're just still like very fond of?
Definitely. You want to go, if anybody's interested in watching one of the episodes, watch the David Goggins episode. That man is inhuman.
Yeah.
And researching him, it changed me fundamentally.
Really? Cool. Can you give a background? He was in the military, right? And he just started doing extreme races and pushing himself to like beyond human, right? I mean, just unreal.
Very much so. Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL that, before he became a Navy SEAL, he believed that he was the weakest man that God had ever created. And he was bullied and grew up like 20 minutes from the headquarters of the KKK. And so he used it, and he's an African-American guy. So he just got picked on, bullied all the time, and felt that he was weak and thought, you know what, I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of hating the person that I see in the mirror. So I'm going to become the toughest man that God ever created. And goes, does virtually every like military hardcore training that you can do, becomes a Navy SEAL, finishes Ranger School. I mean, just crazy, crazy stuff. And goes, tours in Iraq multiple times, comes home, starts doing extreme racing to honor the friends that he lost in Iraq. And I mean, the story just opens with him having to do, because to do an ultra marathon, you have to have done an ultra marathon before. So there's only a few sort of open ultra marathons that you can do if it's your first time. And he realizes to qualify for the one that he wants to do to honor his friends, he has to first do this one that's in 4 days. So he's not a runner. And with 4 days notice, he shows up and runs 100 miles around a track. So if you can imagine how torturously boring that is during the race. So with 19 miles left to go, he's got 2 broken feet. He's urinating blood, and he defecated on himself because he didn't have the energy to walk over to the porta potty. And realizes, okay, step 1 is going to be to get up off this chair because I've got to finish. If I don't hit the 100 miles, I can't do the other race. And, eats and gets some carbohydrate in his system, and he gets going again, but he's walking because his feet hurt so much. And he realizes, his wife tells him, if at this pace, you're not going to finish, because he has to do it in 24 hours. And so for the last 19 miles, he runs on broken feet. I mean, it's just nuts. So this guy's crazy, and that's only the beginning. Right. I mean, the rest of his story is just absolutely insanity.
Yeah. And what did you take away from it? What inspired you to pull out of that story that you're using as fuel today?
That however much you've done, there is so much more that you could do. So complaining about being tired is a waste of fucking time, because you don't have 2 broken feet. You're not peeing blood. You didn't just shat upon yourself, right? Like, you just have so much more that you can do. You just have to make the demand of yourself.
Yeah, and that's obviously easier said than done. But when you hear those inspiring stories, and I think that's what is keeping you at the top, is that you're surrounding yourself with stories and individuals like that. I mean, to sit 5 feet away from that, from David, is just empowering. You feel that he's rubbing off on you, and obviously you're using that as fuel to move forward. What is the ultimate goal with impact theory? Like, what is the end? I mean, what do you want to pull out of the audience? Like, what do you want to show them? Like, what is it that you're creating? Like, what is the mission that is driving you to keep on waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doing your routine, to keep on, what is that internal just being that's moving you forward?
I want to pull people out of the matrix. And the matrix to me is just a metaphor for a limiting set of beliefs. And I want to give people the belief system that they're going to need to go out and do whatever they want with their life, to be a David Goggins, to build the next billion-dollar business, to anything that they want to do, to understand it is possible, and that they have to go on a quest of mindset. And I think the only way to get that out into the world truly, because you can do content like this and your podcast is going to touch a lot of people, right. But when you think about there being some billion people on this planet, many of whom will never in their entire lives encounter an empowering mindset, you've got to get a vehicle that spreads itself. And so that's why I'm focused on social, which certainly has the chance to go viral, and my content has been viewed over 250 million times. Yeah. So I mean, that's crazy. But then when you think about traditional movies, TV shows, creating characters, intellectual property that people really resonate with, the way that I resonate with The Matrix. Sure. And I think that's generationally how you're going to address the issue. And this is not something that happens in a single generation, but you've got to start planting the seeds now in order to really see this generation then teach their kids, and then those kids teach their kids, and that's how this really spreads at a deep cultural level.
Damn, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate it, and I know a lot of people that are fans appreciate it too. This show is called Operation Self Reset. Before we let you go, what does a self reset mean to you?
Yeah, to me, that literally is identity. That is your understanding that your identity is malleable. And the most important thing about mindset is that, like, what is your identity? What tools are you using to make sure that you're always conscious of what identity you're feeding into and how you're leveraging it? Because at the end of the day, behavior is driven by identity. So if you don't like a behavior in your life, don't focus on the behavior, focus on the identity that makes that possible. So if you want to do more powerful behaviors, you have to have a more empowered identity.
Cool. How can people find out about you, your show, and all the great things that you're doing in the world?
At Tom Bilyeu across all socials. I wish my name were spelled a little bit easier, but it's B as in Bravo, TOMBILYEU. You can find me anywhere. YouTube is where we release the bulk of our content. So YouTube/Tom Bilyeu. You can also go to impacttheory.com. You can download our belief system there. So I put the 25 things that I had to do to my mind to go from a broke employee who hated his life to being capable of building $1 billion business. And I put it down on paper. So you can go there, sign up for our, in fact, you're literally signing up for the belief system just to get a downloadable, designed, nice copy of it. And yeah, that's it.
Cool, Tom, man. I appreciate you to all of your success and the reach that you're going to be impacting on other individuals. I appreciate you, man. And until next time.
Thank you, man. And thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, again, awesome. Thank you to Tom Bilyeu for coming on the Operation Self Reset podcast. Obviously, we can all agree he nailed it. He dialed it in, and truly a huge inspiration to a lot of people. His show, Impact Theory, is insane. I mean, the guy brings on some major individuals. And I will say, this was a show and an episode I was kind of nervous for. I haven't been this nervous in a long time just because, you know, I've been watching him from afar. His team reached out to me to get him on our show, or my show. Well, it's your show too, I guess, because I use your feedback to only improve. And it's funny how you put yourself out there, you start something great, and by no means would I ever imagine that Tom Bilyeu's team would reach out to me in the show, but it just shows the power of putting yourself out there, the power of action. Amazing things can truly happen. And so, again, Tom, if you're listening, the crew at Quest, anybody and everybody that is affiliated with Tom, and what he's doing, you guys are rocking it. I appreciate you guys, and to all of our success in the upcoming year, and along with you guys. You guys are the lifeblood of this show. I appreciate you to the 10th degree, more than you even know, and that's all I have to say. I'm greatly appreciative of you guys taking time to listen. If you know of somebody that could use a little bit of awesomeness in their life, feel free to share this show in particular. But if not, hey, keep on doing you. Keep on bringing your awesomeness to the world, because we need more people like you to step outside of your comfort zone to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And now it's time for us to do what we do best. It's so embarrassing and awkward and weird. But the great part is it's something that we do. It's special to this show in particular. We scream, "I'm freaking awesome." It's where you stand in a position of power with your chest out, shoulder blades back. You put your arms overhead, and you move your fingers either with the thumbs up, your pinkies out, the hang ten, the bull horns, the spirit fingers, whatever you got to do. Lift your chin up, look into the abyss of your own personal future, and I want you to say internally and externally that I'm freaking awesome. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, I'm freaking awesome! Woo! Yes. Doesn't that feel good? It's a little weird, but it kind of gives you a little chill down the body. You know, it awakens the spirit, as they say, for you to go out there and conquer great things. Again, I appreciate you guys. Until next week, Wednesday, have a freaking awesome week, and we'll catch you guys later. I appreciate you. See ya.